What are you doing? That's very rude.
I'm still listening. I can multitask. I can watch a movie and text. I can drive, send a tweet.
You can multitask. Oh, you can Twitter, and you can tweet, and you can text, and you can email, and your life is just a buzz with electrical communications. You know, older people always say the past is better, but instead of a text with all those lowercase letters and no punctuation, what about a finely crafted letter sent through the post office? Or maybe a thank you note.
Yeah. It was really elegant back then. I get it. You had to wait 5 days for a letter. Real nice. My march is on, dude.
We licked postage stamps back then. Obviously, you've never heard of that. It didn't come ready-made with the sticky stuff on the back. You had to trigger the sticky stuff with your wet tongue. It took time. And if you were sending out many letters, you could be licking postage stamps for 10 minutes or so. We used typewriters back then, and whiteout for corrections, and carbon paper for copies. We had telephones, and we had to dial the number by inserting your index finger in a round hole representing 2 to 0. And if the number was 909, 9999, it could take you hours. And we linked postage stamps. It was unpleasant, but it had to be done. We didn't multitask. Doing things one at a time seemed appropriate. But you could sit there and maybe listen to a play, and maybe send a message, and maybe play a video game. Oh, how wonderful. I know I sound like a crank, but I don't like change. And my play's all about scary change in the weather. And there's been other changes too that have happened. 785 television channels. You can find a newscast that marks exactly what you already think. Back in the 50s, there was just 3 or 4 channels, and it was all in black and white. And we didn't have any child stars that grew up to be drug addicts like Lindsay Lohan. I mean, Hayley Mills was in the original Parent Trap, and she grew up to be a nice, sensible woman. We didn't have South Park. We watched Howdy Doody starring a puppet. And then there's Kukla, Fran, and Ollie with 2 more puppets and a very sweet lady named Fran. We watched puppets back then. There was the Perry Coco show. He was soothing. And the Dinah Shore show. She was charming. The Bishop Sheen show. He came on Sunday evening, and he was a Catholic bishop. He had his own TV show. And he gave sermons on TV. We were Catholic, and we still watched it. And he said sensible things on television. And Ed Sullivan came on before Bishop Sheen, and he had opera singers. And performers from current Broadway shows. And Julie Andrews and Richard Burton would sing songs from Camelot. It made theater part of the national consciousness, which it isn't anymore. And he had senior wenches on, and he had a Spanish accent, and he was a ventriloquist, and he'd take him out with his fist and make it speak like, hello. And his act seemed like it lasted 7 hours. And I remember as a kid thinking, this must be what eternity feels like. That's not a bad concept for a child to have.
I thought you were talking about things you liked from the past.
Oh, you're right. I'm inconsistent. I don't know what I'm saying. Be quiet. Be quiet. We licked postage stamps and we sent letters. I like Bishop Sheen more than I like Senior Wishes, because Bishop Sheen was a good speaker, and he used his real mouth instead of one drawn on his fist, so it made him take it a lot more seriously. I remember him saying things like seed falling on good soil, falling on bad soil, and seed falling on rock. In other words, build your life on a strong foundation. I guess I haven't done that. I meant to. Bishop Sheen said I should. I guess I just got lost. But it was interesting to hear him talk like that. He was articulate. I don't think there's much that's articulate in the world anymore. I say this in retrospect. I didn't think it when I was 10. I was just trying to get through life one day at a time when I was 10. I didn't have my whole life in front of me, where I was almost cast an entourage too. It means you're having a good life, and that's the one. Tell me, is there any older characters in Entourage 2? Is there a role for a guy in his late 50s who's had a useless life and he's looking back and feeling bitter? Might I audition for that role? Would you check?
Vanya, darling, you seem overwrought and you're talking way more than usual. You're not urge to go lie down somewhere?
I have the remainder of my life to nap. I'm not finished yet. We licked postage stamps. We didn't have answering machines. You had to call people back. And we ate spam, just like the soldiers in World War II did. Have you heard of World War II? We played Scrabble and Monopoly. We didn't play video games in some virtual reality where you're killing policemen and prostitutes like that's some sort of entertainment. Popular entertainment wasn't so insane back then. It was corny, but it was sincere. I mean, we all went and saw the movie Davy Crockett and wore coonskin caps. I know it doesn't sound sane wearing those caps, but it was very innocent, and we all did it. And there was a solidarity about it. Like sitting alone in your room killing prostitutes in some video game. And we watched The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, starring Ozzie and Harriet Nelson. Adventures is just a strange word for that show, because it was extremely uneventful. I mean, they did things like pop popcorn in the kitchen and search for missing socks. In retrospect, they seemed to meditate. It was a stupid show, but it was calming, and it didn't make you feel like you were stirring people up and creating serial killers. I know I'm off my point, but my point is that the 50s were idiotic, but I missed parts of them. When I was 13, I went and saw Goldfinger starring Sean Connery as James Bond, and I didn't get the meaning of the character Pussy Galore. They went right over my head. Nowadays, 3-year-olds get. I mean, they can barely walk and they know what Pussy Galore is. The weather is changing and the culture is very weird, and I'm not a conservative, but I miss some things from the past. I Love Lucy was really wonderful, and the whole country watched it. And we watched things like Davy Crockett and the Mickey Mouse Club. Boys just past puberty would fixate on cello. They didn't identify with rock stars, they identified with Mouseketeers like Annette and Darlene Gillespie and Cubby O'Brien. My favorite was Tommy Kirk. He was one of the Hardy Boys on the Mickey Mouse Show, and later he starred in Disney's Old Yeller about a boy and his dog. Well, you see, his father was off fighting in the Civil War, so Tommy Kirk had to be responsible for being the grown-up, not his mother or his younger brother. Initially, he didn't want the dog, and then they bonded, and then at the end of the film, Old Yeller gets rabies and starts foaming at the mouth, and poor Tommy Kirk has to shoot his own dog, crying his eyes out as he does so. It was a dramatic moment in our national past. We shared one. I always wondered what happened to Tommy Kirk, so I did a Google search. I learned that after he did Son of Flubber, Walt Disney found out he was gay and he fired him, dropped his contract. Meanwhile, Tab Hunter was gay, but his studio just sent him out on pretend dates with starlets. They didn't fire Tab Hunter, they just paired him up in movies with Sophia Loren, for God's sake. On the other hand, Tommy Kirk was mistreated, and I take it personally. I think he does too. He quit making movies, and then he did drugs for a period, and then he got better, and then he became a minister, and now he runs a rug cleaning business. I guess he's all right. But he had to go through the same things I have. No more licking postage stamps, no more typewriters or letters or shared national TV shows like Ozzie and Harriet. Even though it was boring, it's a shared memory between us. Shared memories anymore. Now there's just Twitter and email and Facebook and cable and satellite, and all the movies and TV shows are all worthless. And we don't even watch the worthless things together anymore. They're all separate. Their lives are disconnected. And you come in here and say that you were almost casted on brush too, like that's an accomplishment of some kind. I don't know what you're talking about. I worry about the future. I miss the past. I don't want to talk anymore. I'm going to go sit in the other room. I don't know why I exploded. I'm sorry.